All right, we give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from our... Put that chair down and sit down. Put it down and sit down. And seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only. Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accuse you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So, with that being said, Numbers chapter 11. Before we get to Numbers chapter 11, Psalm 78. Give me a second, y'all. I'm getting there. Psalm 78. We read it Wednesday, but we finna read it again. We're going to pick it up by verse 26. Hold on. Psalm 78 and 26. Abigail, sit on your butt. On your butt. You're cute, but you're not that cute. Sit on your butt. He caused an east wind to blow in Shamahim, and by his power he brought in the south wind. He rained. That's why you had to sit on your butt. It ain't funny. He rained flesh also upon them as dust, and feathered fowls like as the sand of the sea. And he let it fall in the midst of their camp round about their habitations. So did they eat and were well filled, for he gave them their own desire. Listen to this. There's a reason why we're focusing on that part right there. He told them that he gave them their own desire. Now, we talking about desire this day. We talked about desire on Wednesday. And desire is very, very important. Because your desire is going to dictate your salvation. This is why this is very, very important for us to understand that. Your desire is going to dictate your salvation. Now, again, you should remember the word for desire is ta'avah. That's the longing of your heart. It's the longing of your heart. It's the lust and it's the appetite. It's the thing desired. It's the object of your desire. So what was the object of the people's desire? He said they did eat meat and were filled, and he gave them their own desire. They were not estranged from their lust. When we look at the word estranged, we have to understand something, right? They were not estranged from their lust, which is the same word for lust in this next verse is sit, Abigail. The word for not estranged is the word for stranger, which is zer. So they were not alienated from their lust, from their desire. You must separate yourself from your desire. If you do not separate yourself from your desire, you have a very strong problem. Since I said that, I want you to hold Psalm 78. And this is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to do. I want you to get me Proverbs chapter 18 and 1, because that's where we're going next. And after we get Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 1, we're going to go to Philippians chapter 3. Verse 14. And after we read Philippians chapter 3 verse 14, we don't know where we're going until we get there. So, Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 1. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 1. Stinking phone. Does what it want to do when it want to do it. I was trying to have the word ready for it, but my phone does not want to cooperate with us this evening. It just cooperated. No, it doesn't want to cooperate. Nevertheless, he say, through desire a man having separated himself, seek an intermeddle with all wisdom. When you have separated yourself, say through desire. So why is this important? Because your desire is through desire that you will separate yourself and be able to intermeddle with all wisdom. See, my app doesn't want to open itself up. Now, of course, for seek we got Bakash, and I can't pull the definition for these words because this thing doesn't want to work now. Stinking slut. So when we look at Ta'avah, right, we'll deal with that first as far as the characters with that. We'll deal with that. We talked about it Wednesday. We will reiterate it. So, of course, we have the Ta, the Aleph, the U, and the Hey. We know that we're beholding a sacrifice of strength which will cause you to enter into a covenant. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And that's when we're looking at it in the positive aspect. It makes a lot of sense that if you, through desire, because you're beholding this man's covenant, that you can that you can cause yourself to separate and intermeddle because you sacrificing yourself to enter into the house, and also the house within, if you want to take it in that aspect of the inner sanctum, you can be able to meddle or mingle yourself with wisdom. Yahushua has stated to be, by Paul in his epistle to the Corinthians, to be made wisdom unto us. Wisdom is what gives us the ability to fight in war. What war you're fighting? You're warring against your flesh because the Ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak. What will we be able to determine this evening, if you will ever be so merciful, is that your desire, as I stated, will show you where your soul is going to rest. Your desire shows you your faith and your ability to cleave to your Elohim. If your desire is to wickedness, it will manifest in your behavior. If your desire is to righteousness, it will manifest in your behavior. Your desire was what will draw you to the people whom you choose to have fellowship with, whether they be righteous or whether they be unjust and unclean and dastardly devils. All of these things are going to be revealed through your desire. This is why he say through the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Because your mouth is eventually going to reveal your desires. And even if your mouth don't reveal it, your feet will. Your feet will reveal it. We have a lot of things I need to move in an expeditious manner. Philippians chapter 3. Philippians 3 and 14. See, if you can behold the covenant, if you can behold that sacrifice, then through that desire, you will separate yourself. If you don't, and we still hold the Psalm 78. You have one too? Would you like me to open it for you? Yeah. How do you ask? Yes, I can. There you go, Elizabeth. Sit down now. You as well, Isaiah. There's a chair for you. Sit in it. 3 and 14. The epistle to the Philippians. Make it 13. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. Got to forget those things that are behind and pay attention to the things that are before. I press towards the mark for the prize of the high calling of Elohim and Yahushua HaMashiach. Let us therefore as many be perfect, be thus minded, and if anything be ye otherwise minded, Elohim shall reveal even this unto you. Nevertheless, whereto we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule, let us mind the same thing. Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk. Notice this here. Mark them which walk. I want you to keep that in mind. Mark them which walk, so you have us for an example. Quiet. I want y'all to see something else real quick. Hold on. Yeah, because if y'all gonna sit here and think you're gonna talk, you're gonna go in your room and you're gonna go to bed. Who wants to go to bed? Nobody. I know nobody wants to go to bed. Romans chapter 16 and verse 15. Yep. Romans 16 and 15. Actually, Romans 16 and 17. Straight. I want you to understand something. This will tie into something in a moment. Romans 16 and 17. He said, now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause division and offenses. Well, you might need to use Shayla phone one. It said, now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which you have learned, and avoid them. For they that are such serve not our master Yahushua HaMashiach, but their own belly. And by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. Notice that Paul is instructing, and we about to see why in a moment, that Paul is instructing the Roman congregation, the Roman synagogue, the people who he's writing in Rome, that anybody who calls any offenses or divisions that are contrary to the doctrine, that they ought to be marked. What do y'all think that means when he says that these people need to be marked? What do y'all believe that he is expressing in that statement? Does anybody have any idea what he could be expressing? Yes, cover your mouth when you cough, sir.
Is it to be marked, like, for what side they supposed to be on?
Yes, I would say that is a very good determination for that. Yes. Okay, I'm glad you covered your mouth. So when you and that one there is excellent. Definitely pointing out what side they on, and to keep it in layman's terms for that one there, even though she pretty much put that as simple as you can put it. Pointing out who's wicked so everybody can know and leave them alone. Just like she said, that nigga's on the devil's side. See, niggas in this work now. You gotta remember something too. You gotta remember something too. This is in a congregation of people who profess to believe. So, like I said, her terminology actually is better. Mark which side that nigga on. He's on the left hand side. He's over there with the goats. Leave that wicked nigga alone. Now he's talking about anybody who is causing divisions. That means anybody who is purposely doing something to cause. Because what does the book say about causing a division? Does anybody know what the text says about causing a division? Is anybody aware of what the book says about that? Lizzie, be quiet. Okay, I put it this way to use a term to make it even easier to ascertain. Discord. What does the book say about discord?
Don't discord amongst brethren.
What is that?
Causing.
No, I'm talking about according to the text. How does Yahuwah see that? What is that?
Oh, that's abomination.
That's something that he finds utterly detestable. He hates it. So now we can understand why Paul is saying, you see them that's causing divisions and bringing forth offenses that are contrary, mark them. Avoid them. Because these people serve their belly. They don't serve Yahushua HaMashiach. They serve their belly. Keep this in mind as we continue on. I promise it's going to go together. I promise it will. Back to Philippians 3 and 14. We're in 3 and 17. I will read it again. My apologies. Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk, so you have us for an example. Now he's switching it, just as he just put it. Mark those who on the right hand side. He say mark them. Mark them. Now I'm going to ask y'all a question. Where can we look at an example of those who are righteous being marked? Does anybody have the idea of where we can locate that at?
So you say the Levites and Exodus?
No, that's not it. That's not it.
Or would you say the 300 men with Joshua?
That's not it either.
I mean, not with Joshua, but with
No, that's not it either. Come to Ezekiel chapter 9.
Oh, okay. The angel threw a mark down that sign for the abomination.
Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 4. That's all we want. Where's your hat? Yahuwah said unto me, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. What is this mark symbolic of?
Is it the one in Revelation? Israel that has Yahuwah in their mind?
It's just symbolizing the covenant. That's it. It's not. It's just that simple. What character symbolizes a mark or a covenant? The Tau, the last character in the alphabet. So he set them and he sealed them with this covenant. Now on the flip side, he said, mark a nigga who's over there doing wicked. Conversely, he turned around and said, mark those who walk uprightly, so you can have them as an example. Because as he put it, you got the mark, and you got to be able to identify who's on which side. And again, it's not hard to ascertain who is who, because the desire is what's going to show it. See, that's what's going to show it. See, those who have a desire, remember, right, you're beholding the strength of the covenant of sacrifice. You're beholding that. So in your beholding that, you will either reject it or you will accept it. And it shows what the longing of your heart is. Because when we go back in the numbers, if we go and find in this law that these people beheld that strength of that covenant of sacrifice, that they saw it, but their desire was or was not to it, is the question. Then we're going to come back and we're going to see, did that happen with Yahusha? And we're going to come back and see, does it happen after he depart? I just mentioned this before I started, and I'm going to say the reason why I use the example consistently and constantly of a man and a woman, and the desire of a man towards a woman or desire of a woman towards a man, is so that you can simply see, if you tell me that you are of Yahuwah, then your friends and your mates are going to be representative of that desire. Because if that is what your desire is not going to take you to be in company with people who are contrary to said desire. If you don't smoke crack, you're not going to have a desire to be around people who smoke crack. You're not. If a man or a woman is not a whore, then they're not going to hang with people who are whores. They're not going to do it. Every man knows if a woman tells him she ain't no whore, but all her friends are whores, he don't believe her. He ain't going to believe you. All your friends take off, and you want me to believe that you not one. So you going to tell me all your friends are sinners, but you not one. That's what you telling me. See, we can't be hypocrites and be like, of course you know there's an exception to every rule. But we can't turn around and be hypocrites and say that fits in this scenario and don't fit here. So if your desire is to righteousness, you're going to cleave to that. You're going to cleave to anything that looks like your desire. That's word or no word. Every single person on this phone, on the other side of this camera, in this room, have had a desire to things that they should not have desired, and it didn't end well for them. Because desiring the wrong things will get you in trouble. You'll never get in trouble for desiring the right things. Never. Not when you're dealing with Yahuwah anyway. He said all those who believed on him will not be ashamed. Ain't nobody going to be around here looking crazy for desiring the things that are of Elohim, because that means you have a desire for things that are good. And if you have a desire for things that are good, then Yahuwah ain't going to do nothing but add nothing but good unto you, because Elohim is good. And he is light and there's no darkness in him. Before we proceed, because I just explained this here, and I'm going to explain it to y'all again, and y'all will, I'll probably explain it again tomorrow. On tomorrow, excuse me. When you seeking to receive this man Ruach, people will begin to tolerate your company. The same way that this world tolerates the word. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to see it. They don't care for it. They just tolerate it. If they could, they would eliminate it. So see, people only tolerate you because remember, the Yahuwah's Ruach is called the Ruach HaKadosh, the breath of separation. This is what it is. A separated breath. This is a separated breath. That's what this is. So if our Elohim is a separated breath, because Elohim is a Ruach, if he is a separated breath, who cannot dwell in uncleanliness? Because if any manner of uncleanness is present, he will consume it and destroy it. I want y'all to let that sink into your brain and think about that and ponder that. Let's use the word in the text, say, Selah, pause. Your Elohim is a separated breath. You are seeking to receive the separated breath of your Elohim. Your Elohim cannot dwell in sin or uncleanness, in any iniquity or unrighteousness. Far be it for him to commit iniquity and do sin and to falsify judgment. Now this is the type of spirit you seeking. And when I say seeking, meaning you're making the sacrifice to get into the door so you can get into the house. This is the sacrifice you're seeking. This is the breath that you're seeking. This breath should cause you to be separated from all things that are contrary to Elohim. And when I say to separate, that meaning the desire is to continue to be separate. Like here in Psalms 97, right? It says that all ye that love Yahuwah hate the evil and love the good. So how are you going to tell me you love Yahuwah and then you love those that hate Yahuwah and you cleave to those who hate Yahuwah? How is that possible? How is that possible that we would have a desire to anyone or anything that hates our Elohim, yet we profess that we love him and have a desire for his breath? This is thing you had to think about. As I mentioned, when people hear this, they're taking it as if this is my personal opinion. Oh, y'all in a cult. This man. This is what the word actually teaches. What people choose to do with it is their personal prerogative. But this is what it teaches. And if you desire to receive eternal life, then through your desire, you separate yourself so you can seek to be intermeddled with all wisdom. Which means you seek to be intermeddled with Yahushua. Do you want to be one with him? And this is all relevant and prevalent to something that we... y'all, well, let me crank it up. It ain't but 9:20. I'm trying to get it all done. I'm trying to take it light on tomorrow, man. Because Will got something for y'all. And I'm trying to make sure I ain't got nothing. So, we not in there all day and all night. So, yes, that's what I'm trying to do. Verse 18, right? I'll read 17 again. Because I just feel like it needs to be renumerated. Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk so as ye have for us an ensample. For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are enemies of the stake of Mashiach, whose end is destruction, whose Elohim is their belly, whose esteem is in their shame, who mind earthly things. He said you need to mark them. Because they God is their belly. Genesis chapter 3. Let's see why they God is their belly. And they mind an earthly thing. Because what we're looking at is another person whose desire was the things of the earth. Which is why Yahushua said that if you are the seed that fall amongst the thorns, then the thorns choke off the word. And you don't bring forth no fruit to perfection. Because you carried about with the cares and affairs of this life and the deceitfulness of riches. See, that junk choke it all. See, you want to make sure, if you haven't received this man's spirit, you are susceptible to any amount of stupidity at any given time. Your discipline has to be twice as hard. When you actually receive this man's spirit, your discipline got to be 4 times as hard. And the reason why it has to be 4 times as hard, because you're going to be even more cognizant and aware of the machinations and attacks of the adversary. You don't let your... See, let me tell you something, right? The enemy of all greatness is complacency. It's the enemy of all greatness. Complacency. You're comfortable. I've made it. I've arrived. I don't have to keep grinding. I don't have to keep pushing. I don't have to stay as focused. I've reached the goal. Why do you think it's so hard in sports for team? People gloss over it. But whatever team this nigga LeBron James has been on, they've been in the NBA Finals 7 years in a row. He pulled this off 4 times with one team and 3 times with another. That is a very, very difficult and arduous task. Why? Because you have to stay focused and because everybody can say we play for championships. But in actuality, if you win a championship and you reach the top of the mountain, you got to start to get a little comfortable because you feel like you made it. You don't feel like you got to work as hard as you did before you won it. You don't have to be as focused. So then you start to get lazy, and that's when you start to get sloppy, and your performance begins to suffer. And the next thing you know, you never win another championship. Anybody who received this man's spirit will never be complacent. Number one, they'll never be complacent because they will understand the greatness of the free gift which was bestowed upon them at the behest of the living Elohim through your profession, the adaptation of your faith before his face. This is why he say a steward must be found faithful, and this man don't pop his spirit off to people like Pez candy. Because you have to cherish it. You have to honor it. You got to understand how precious of a life-giving gift that it is. Paul received this man's spirit and was fighting all the way to the last breath. He said, I fought the fight. I held the faith. He didn't say, oh, I got a spirit. Now I'm straight. I ain't gonna do nothing. I'm good now. No. The battle's just begun. It's just begun. Nevertheless, Genesis chapter 3, right? Verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, have Elohim said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? The woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die. For Elohim doth know that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. What did this man play to? As the book of Psalms states, it says, Surely man's thoughts are vanity, and he is vanity altogether. So he played to the desire of this woman. Let's read verse 6 and see what it says. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and it was a tree desired. It was a tree desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So she desired this tree because it was a tree, it would go make her wise. So you notice, where was her desire to? Her desire was to something that was of man. Now the word for desire is different in this verse. It is kamad. And that's something that you take pleasure in and you delight in. So ask yourself this question, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. What do you take delight in? Because he said they minded earthly things, so they God was their belly. And we could drop down to verse 14. And it said, And Yahuwah Elohim said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field, and upon thy belly thou shalt go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. See, when your God is your belly, your God is Satan, because the lust of your father ye will do. See, the devil is your father. See, your desire shows that. Your desire shows that. Desire things of the flesh, and things of the flesh you shall receive. Desire the things of the Ruach and the thing. Let me tell you something, right? Matthew chapter 6 and verse 33, because he told you to seek the kingdom of Elohim, and all these things will be added unto you. So let's not think about nothing monetarily. Nothing monetarily. Let's just think about the basic things that any righteous person would desire. We're not talking about no money, ain't talking about no cars, ain't talking about no homes. Because as certain as the book say, long as we have food and raiment, let us therewith be content. So what are some of the things that a righteous person may desire? First and foremost, well, I would hope that an individual would say the Ruach HaKodesh, if that had not already been attained. Do you not know that if that is what your desire is, and you seek the kingdom of Elohim first, that he will add that unto you? Let's say the next thing that you would desire, maybe you desire knowledge, the knowledge of Elohim. Maybe you desire the wisdom of Elohim. Maybe the understanding of Elohim. Maybe even the gift of faith. Do you not know if that's what your desire is, and you seek Elohim with all your heart and all your strength and all your might, that he will bestow this upon you? What if you desire a virtuous woman? Of course we know the word says that he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and will obtain the favor of Yahuwah. If you obtain the favor of Yahuwah, you know you done became a separated seed. What nigga in his right mind think Yahuwah gonna direct a righteous man to a transgressor and say, I'm gonna give you her? Do you not know that the text says a prudent wife comes from Yah? I'm just setting this up for something that we're going to look at, Yahuwah willing, when we get time, if we get time this evening. A prudent wife is a woman who directs her affairs with discretion and wisdom and understanding. If a man say he's a righteous man and he hasn't been joined unto any woman, would that not be what he desires? I find it funny because I've seen several women on my timeline over the course of 9 years sit back and say, how do all these men say they righteous, but we see that you around here liking photographs of butt naked hoes? How is that possible? Half naked hoes. How is this possible? That's not what your desire is. And your actions have shown this is just a living example of what we're talking about. Your desire reveals what's in your heart, because that is what you long for and what you take delight in. So if you take delight in Yahuwah, then you will delight in the things that are of and come from Yahuwah, and whatever capacity of which they come. Period. If you desire this man's word will come unto you. I ain't talking about desiring it to have head knowledge. I'm talking about desiring this man's word to lay it up in your inward parts. Because he desires wisdom in the inward parts. That's what the book says. So if you had, through your desire, had separated yourself so you could seek to be intermeddled with all wisdom, then you would find out that Yahushua would rest in your heart as he's supposed to. Nevertheless, let's return to Psalm 78, because we need to crank it up a notch. It's 9:30, but I feel like I'm behind pace. I just want you to consider your desires. We're going to read verse 29 one more time, and then we're going to go to Numbers 11, and then we shall begin there. I want you to consider what your desires are. Yasharal say we wanted a righteous man. He gave us the most righteous man that you could ever imagine. The people were looking for, he said, are you the prophet? Are you the Mashiach? They knew the attributes that the Mashiach or that prophet like unto Moses was to possess. This is what they say they desired. Yet when the desire was shown to their face, they rejected him, revealing their true heart's desire was never the will and righteousness of the living Elohim. It was never the case. It wasn't the case. What is the case with us? What is the case with you? What is your desire? Who do you desire? And I ain't talking about no flesh and blood man when I say that either. Who do you desire? Do you desire Elohim or do you desire Hashatan? Which one do you desire? Your heart shows it. Because you can make your mouth fry fish. Your heart shows it. We cannot continually say we desire righteousness and choose to politic and commune with wicked people. Y'all notice he got mad with Jehoshaphat behind it. How can you help those that hate Yahuwah? That man say, because you do this, nigga, you gonna have wars. You gonna have problems. This is what he told him. You gonna have problems. Praise the Lamb. He gave him problems because he loved Jehoshaphat. So those problems that he gave him was for his betterment. It was for his rebuke and correction, that he would learn not to do such a thing. But in the case of what we're reading right now, they didn't get none of that. He said, oh, no, I'm going to kill these niggas right here. You know why the difference in that? which we shall see again. The desire for those that ate the meat and the desire of Jehoshaphat was two different things. They desired two different things. Jehoshaphat desired Yahuwah. He just was desirous to help somebody and didn't consider the faultiness of his action. Am I saying that you can't help nobody who outside the word? That ain't what I'm saying at all. You can help whoever you want to help. But consider in all your ways. Because it's another thing we say about a prudent wife. She's circumspect. She's circumspect. This is what Yahushua wanted his wife to be. Circumspect. See, this is the type of stuff right here, right? If we were to pull a man to the side, most of y'all got married before the word, so it wouldn't necessarily be a prevalent question because your mentality now is not the mentality you had when you met your spouse. Praise the Lamb for the both of you that your mentalities are not the same. You know what I'm talking about? But if the key point is, if a nigga in the word, and you say, I want a virtuous woman, I want a righteous man, what are those characteristics that you deem necessary in a man or a woman? And see, those desires will reveal if you cleave in the olive. It ain't even about getting no man or no woman. It ain't even about that. I don't even want you to think that that's what it's about. It's about where your mentality and where your heart is. Because if the things that you desire do not line up with what is righteous, just, and Kadesh all together, then you need to commune on your own bed. You need to assess your own heart. You need to examine yourself whether you be in the faith, lest you be reprobate. This is a sincere question. I'm talking. You got to ask yourself that. What is it that you desire in an individual if you profess to be a servant of the living Elohim? Because it will show how much do you desire the things that are of Elohim. Not necessarily an actual human being. Because if you say, oh, I want gentleness and goodness and faith and mercy and just, I guarantee you, for probably about 75% of women, because I don't think necessarily dudes would say this conversing with a woman. I guarantee you 75% of women would probably not say that. They would have a man who would have the ability to execute righteous judgment in their top three things that they would desire in a man. Even though the book says that Elohim is judgment. Because that's not even something that most people who walk in the word even consider as an attribute that they would find desirable. Because it's always going to be cliche. I just want a man who knows the word. It's very few men. Very, very few. And I would probably say it's probably around 40% that would want a woman who was actually wise and understanding of the text of Elohim. Not just, oh, she's wise and understanding. Having a firm grasp and grips on the inside of the text. Because the reason why, because we know that the wisdom is kokma, so that's the ability to have skill in war. Most men don't want a woman who have the ability to skill in war because they cannot be able to run game on this woman to cause her to defile herself. So you can't get this woman to sin. You can't get this woman to buy your malarkey that you're trying to sell. So that's why people don't want that. So in actuality, in reality, they don't really want Yahuwah because they can't sell Yahuwah a bunch of monkey crap that they're trying to offer him for their wickedness to think that he's going to accept it. See, they think they can't. I can bring that man anything, run any type of game, and he going to take it. See, a woman with wisdom, she's not purchasing that. She's not purchasing that. Why do you think Yahuwah rejected Cain? You think I'm buying that, man? You think I want that? That right there, you thought you could sell that to me and I was going to purchase it. That's what you thought you could do. See, a woman of wisdom and understanding, you can't do that with her. Because she has wisdom, she has understanding, she's prudent, she has skill, she has knowledge, she has ability, she has the fear of Elohim. She ain't going for that. So let me go over here with this person over here because they're going to go for that. And see, the reason why I use those two examples to encapsulate the point, which we finna get, I think, in Numbers 11, probably about verse 30, is that we feel like that we can step to Yahuwah and run the cockamamie game and the crap that we try to run on other people, and then be just like Cain and get upset when he don't accept it, that he don't want, that he's not going for that. And it shows that our desire was never to please him. Some of us have a more desire to please our mates and please our children and please our family members and please our friends than we have a desire to please Yahuwah. That is not good. It's not good. Numbers 11 and 30 though. I'm sorry, I didn't read Psalm 78 and 29. My apologies. That is my fault. Let's do that now. Let's do that now. I just want you to consider and to check and assess your own desires. Because I praise y'all, my desires have been the same for 9 years. And that is to dwell in his bosom, in his kingdom. And that is it. I don't care who I have to lose. I don't care who I have to piss off. I don't care about none of that. You know what I'm saying? And ain't cared about it pretty much from the jump street. There's not a single solitary person. There's not a single solitary place. There's not anything in this life that is worth losing my soul for. And if I have to lose you to keep my soul, then I will lose you. It's not that big of a deal. I ain't gonna lose no sleep over it. You know what I'm saying? I could be sad for a season, but I ain't gonna lose no sleep over it. Because my soul is vitally important. My salvation is vitally important. It is more important than any single solitary force on this planet. If I had kids, my salvation is greater than them. My salvation would be greater than my wife. And truth be told, I wouldn't even want to be married to a woman if her salvation wasn't greater than me. If she didn't hold her salvation greater than me, you are not the woman for me. Not at all. Because if her salvation is greater than me, that means her desire is to Yahuwah and not to do it to please me. Not to do it to be with me. That means that's what she on. I don't even think we realize that is the most beautiful thing in the world. A nigga could look like Quasimodo. But if you have the fear of Elohim in you, that is the most beautiful thing in the world. And remember, because we don't desire that beauty. We talked about that already. The beauty of Kadesh. Does the world desire that? You think about that. Does the world desire that? Because when we talk about desire, we talk about beholding the strength of the sacrifice of the covenant. Do the world desire Yahusha's body? Do they desire that? Do you desire it? And I ain't talking about with no lip service either. I'm talking about active separating yourself through sacrifice to deliver your soul from death. Do you desire that? Or do you desire the lust of your belly? Because your God is your belly. Where do your desires rest? Your desires show where your allegiance rests. Nevertheless, Psalm 78 and 29. So they did eat and were well filled, for they gave them their own desire, and they were not estranged from their lusts. But while the meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of Elohim came upon them and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Yasharal. For all this they sinned still, and believed not for his wondrous works. And there's where you get to the point of what we talking about. They beheld, and they still didn't believe. See, that's my point. We can see it. We can hear it. But will you believe it? Because if you believe it, there's a person that has passion for whatever it is that they do. It's a beautiful thing to see. Because that is a beautiful obsession for them. They're consumed with it. Be consumed with the desire for Elohim. When you are consumed with the desire of Elohim, all the things that are of Elohim will come unto you. Whatever they may be. If that's what you want. See, if that ain't what you want, then you're going to get wickedness. That's what you're going to get. You'll get a thorn in your side. You're going to be sucking up dust because your God is your belly. So you're going to be swallowing up dust because dust is what you're going to eat. You're going to hell. You're going to die. Think about it. Numbers 11. But if you desire the things of Elohim, then you take in his breath and ye shall live. Think about it. Because I can't force you to do nothing. Because shoot, if we could force people to do something, don't you think we'd force everybody to obey Yah? But we can't. We can't. He ain't forcing nobody to obey him. He ain't forcing nobody to believe him. But you got to check yourself. Because it said that's what their desire was, right? They weren't estranged. They weren't separated for their lust. So he gave it to them. He gave them their desire. They desired death, so he gave it to them. If you desire life, he will give it to you. Which one you gonna choose? Y'all know what Deuteronomy say. I say choose life. That's what Deuteronomy say. Numbers 11:30. I say choose life. That's what Deuteronomy say. Choose life. Choose life. And Moses gat him into the camp, and he and the elders of Yasharal. And there went forth a wind from Yahuwah, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp as it was a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of their rats. And the people stood up all the day and all that night, and all the next day. And they gathered the quails. And he that gathered the least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, and ere it would chew, the wrath of Yahuwah was kindled against the people, and Yahuwah smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of that place KibrothhattaavahL, because they buried the people that lusted. Because there they buried the people that lusted. And the people journeyed from KibrothhattaavahL unto Hazeroth, and abode at Hazeroth. Now, of course, we talked about that a little bit on Wednesday, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. That KibrothhattaavahL literally means the graves of lust. The graves of lust. What does that mean to y'all when y'all think about the graves of lust? Does that mean anything to anybody? Let's see what it would mean for us. I'm trying to remember. I done messed around. Oh, there we go. When we look at Kibroth, we have the the Kuf, my apologies, the Bat, the Rosh, the U, and the Ta. So let's first deal with the part with the graves. When we turn around and we look at that, and we got this Kuf, we see that, and I'll read all of the meanings for those who may not be aware to make sure that they know what they are. Hopefully everyone has their characters with them, and if you don't, then let it be known so they can be provided to you. You have the sun at their horizon. Clearly we're not going to use that. A light or a circle or time. Probably not going to use that. Behind, back of the head, final, least, and condense. For this one here, final or least would be more apropos. Of course, now we're looking at the Bat. And for that, a house, a 10th floor, family to be in or with, or a son. And this one we're going to look at being within on this one. So we're going to look at final and within. And then we come to the Rosh, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to look at a man's head, or first top, the chief, highest, most important of thoughts. So definitely we're going to go with thoughts. So we have the final thoughts that are within. We come up now, we looking at the U here. And what direction would we take with that? We see a tent peg, a nail, a hook to add, to join together, to secure, means, and. So we look to be joined together. So the final thoughts that are within join you together. And then we have the tau. And we look at a mark, a sign, to seal, a covenant, to last, or joining together. So we look at a mark. So we begin to see that, there's final thoughts that are within join you together to a mark. Well, we had already established that we needed to mark those who cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine that you have received, and avoid them. Now remember, this first word is dealing with the grave. This is what it's dealing with, the grave. So, what can this mean for us if we're looking at people because of their desire? It was their thoughts from within that their final place would be marked. Well, let's look at these thoughts that are within that would cause them to be marked. Taking a small deviation, but yet relative all the least. Ezekiel 38. See, and again, we see that what got the people to the grave, it was their thoughts. So when we see when Mashiach said it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out. And we think about when we looked at the thoughts of foolishness is sin. And we remember that thoughts in that particular passage in Hebrew was meaning that the intents, plans, plots, and devices. And how Yahuwah finds it to be abomination those who plan and plot mischief. Because it's in the heart of where all sin emanates. Because when the Apostle James wrote unto us in his epistle, that when a man is tempted, let him not say he be tempted of Elohim, because Elohim tempt no man with evil. But when a man is tempted, he's enticed by his own lust, his own desires, because he beheld the sacrifice of strength of the covenant and rejected it. He believed not and sinned more, and did not believe the wondrous works of Elohim, the Pala. You already remember what that is. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. They didn't believe it. So now I know some of us are sitting back looking at, well, I ain't seen no miracles. I ain't seen no wonders. But yet you read of the wonders of your Elohim, yet you believe them not. So you ain't no different. That's why he told you to tell it to your children after you, so you would know and believe and trust it, even though you didn't see it. Ain't none of the every child that came up after them didn't see that Red Sea split. They didn't sit back and see Pharaoh's firstborn sons murked. You didn't see Yahusha on that tree. But he said, Thomas, he said, you have believed. But blessed are those who have not seen, yet believed. Because you didn't see the first passed over either, clown. That's what I'm talking about to our fleshly man. That's what we have to tell him. You didn't see that either. See, your flesh will drag you to hell. Because it will cause you to doubt. It will cause you to slow up. It will cause you to have a desire for the things that it desires. This is why Shaul said, in my flesh dwells no good thing. He said, but he said, I delight after the law of Elohim in the inward man. See, there go that command again. What you take pleasure in, what you delight in. What do you delight in? Do you look at your service to Elohim as a burden? I got to do this. Because then you don't delight in it. Of which you ought not to do it at all at that point. Because you ain't doing it with joy. See, that's where it come in with the fruits of the Ruach is joy. Do you have a joy to do the things that are pleasing to Elohim? Do you have a joy for it? Does it bring joy to your heart? Oh, it's the Sabbath again. I gotta hear these niggas talk. Oh, I don't want to hear this nigga, man. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do that. Ain't no spirit coming to you, man. Because you don't delight after that. See, that delight in your heart, that desire, that's how you can stay hungry after 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. People wonder how some people can be married for 40 and 50 and 60 years. It's because their desire for one another inside is what allows them to continue to be married for such an extended period of time. You enter into a covenant with Yahuwah. What makes you think your marriage with him gonna last? He got a desire for you. Let that be known. It's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It's his desire to do so. His desire was for your soul to be delivered from death, so much he sent his only begotten son to die in your place, that he might resurrect from the dead and give life unto all those that believe. Hallelujah for Yahusha for that. So his desire is to you off the rip. Ain't even no question about that. That's not even put up for debate. That's not even up for discussion. But how strong will your desire be to your husband after 5 years? After 10? 15 or 20? Niggas losing their desire after 60 days. Niggas losing desire after a year. Some niggas ain't never had no desire and they got exposed off the rip. What is your desire? How bad do you want to be in this man's kingdom? How bad do you want to be there? How bad do you want to be there? Ask yourself that question when you lay down on your bed at night. You can ask yourself that question right now if you want. I mean, I can't stop you from asking yourself that question. But ask yourself that question. How bad do you want to be there? What are you willing to do to get there? What are you willing to sacrifice to get there? What are you willing to do? How much joy does it bring to your heart to do it? Jose loved Yahuwah so much he told him marry a whore and he did it with joy. Yahusha did it too. He told him go marry a whore. He did it with joy. I'll gladly do it. Say, why would you do it? Because you told me to do it. Because my desire, if it please you, Yahuwah, then a whore I shall marry. Now you think about that. Ain't no man gonna do that. He say, son, go die for that whore. She an ungrateful whore. She opened her feet to everybody pass by. Every idol god she see, she bow down to it. Yeah, she don't do nothing, I say. Yeah, man. Go die for her. It's nothing. It's nothing. Because my desire is to please you. If we had a desire to please our Elohim as much as we had a desire to please our mate or please our children, we'll be alright. Shoot, or to please Mr. Charlie. Because niggas bending over backwards and touching the back of their heels to please Mr. Charlie. But Mr. Charlie ain't nothing but a man. Why are we so hell-bent on pleasing flesh and blood that got to stand before the same throne of judgment as we do? Then we have to please the man who made you. Think about that. How bad do you want to see his face? How bad do you want to enter in through them gates? How bad do you want to taste of the water of life that flows freely? How bad do you want to eat from the leaves that give its fruit in season, which is for the healing of the nations? How bad? Now, of course, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor the heart of man perceived what Elohim have prepared for those that love him. But if you cannot see yourself in this man's kingdom, you will not make it there. I'm a strong believer in that and have been since I was taught that. I don't remember who the first person that taught me that. But when you want to accomplish something, you have to see it before you do it. I do it all the time in the gym, especially deadlifting. I can see myself lifting this weight before I walk up to it and pick it up off the floor. If you have a goal, whether it be natural, most importantly, if it's to enter in Yahuwah's kingdom, you have to visualize that success in your mind. And or at least for me, that's for me. For you being able to execute it. If you don't see this man, if you don't see yourself in this man's kingdom, you definitely not gonna be there. Because you don't want it bad enough. Because if you can't see yourself there, then it's not a tangible reality that you can even accomplish it. And if it's not a tangible reality that you will even have the skill or ability, by the hand of Yahusha, of course, to make it into this location, then why are you even participating in the exercise of futility? Doesn't make any sense. Ezekiel 38 and verse 2. Let's look at the desire of Gog and Magog. One thing for certain and two things for sure. If you're going to accomplish anything, you're going to piss a lot of people off on your way there. You might as well piss them off for Yahuwah. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And say, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. Now, we don't have to read all of that. But let's look at Revelation 11 and 17 and see why Gog and Magog, pardon me, would be a little perturbed. Let's see why. You know, I thank y'all for the word, because, you know, who knows what I would be doing or where I would be at without it. I usually sit back from periodically, and you, truth be told, more often than not, recycle my 37 years on this planet. At least the things that I can remember, because some things I can't actively remember as good as I used to. And I look at all the scenarios and situations and circumstances that I've been in, the directions, a course of my life, of which direction they could have went in, and if I would have made certain decisions, some being more positive and some being necessarily at the time which would have been viewed as being positive, and some outright negative. And the course of what my life could have went, what I could be doing, where I could be at, or very well in the grave. And then I think about that, all the things that I tried to do that may have got blocked, or people that I was dealing with for whatever reason caused me to be separated from them, caused that to happen for this very day of quote unquote the 10th of February 2018, quote unquote, to be able to not only be a servant of the living Elohim, but also a servant in the ministry of his word, which is something that I could not have even fathomed at any time in my life. You know what I'm saying? So that's all to the esteem of Elohim, because you never know what can happen. Because I had these thoughts, and I had talked to somebody about it the other day. Like, I'm sitting back looking at my life, and like, I have not been able on the natural side to accomplish any of the things that I thought that I would be able to accomplish when I was in my youth. And sometimes that stuff weighs hard and heavy, because I'm like, you know, I should have made this choice and went this direction and this direction. But all of the choices that I made and the directions that I actually end up going in were for one cause and one reason, which is to get me to the point that I am at this very moment that I have breath in my lungs by the grace, mercy, and favor of Yahuwah. Because without those decisions, the bad as they were, and the outcome of such bad decisions, you know what I'm talking about? It would not have possibly allowed me to be as easily acceptable and to receive the word of salvation from his mouth. You know what I'm saying? And see, so the reason for me anyway, or why I think about that from time to time, is to remember that this is what you came from. And though you came from this, you can easily return back to it. And you got to stay hungry. And you got to stay hungry. To transport myself back to knowing, remember the time when you used to see this book and didn't understand a single solitary word in it? Do you remember that? Do you want to go back to that? Do you want to go back to the idiot that parroted some of the same idiotic stuff that people who don't believe the word parrot to this very day because you read a book or two, nigga? Not because you was trying to sound deep or smart or anything of the sort, but because you had an utter contempt for Christianity. So therefore that was what you were rejecting. Praise Yahuwah, he didn't make my heart hard enough to where I wouldn't receive the true word. And that, I'm just giving you a little piece of, yeah, that's some of the stuff, that's what keep me going with mine. To sit back and think. You could be dead. You can be in jail. You can have kids from a woman you can't stand. Always look at it, man. Everything you went through is to get you into the point that you are right now. You would not be the person that you are right now without the experiences that you had before that to get you to this point. This is what Yahuwah had to do to make you perfect. He had to take you through all of that. Well, I ain't gonna say he took you through it, but our choices and decisions allowed him to bust us upside our heads. That when he revealed his salvation and his mercy unto us, that we would have known it was him. And when we'd have knew it was him, we would have cleaved to him for the rest of our natural life. Once I knew it was him, I wasn't going nowhere. And it didn't take me long, like it was an extended period of time. Once I knew it was him, I was hooked for life. I wasn't going nowhere. If this man has shown himself unto you like that desire we talking about this evening, cleave unto him. Revelation 11:17. Saying, we give thanks, O Yahuwah, Al Shaddai, which art and was and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged. And thou shalt give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the Kadeshim, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and should destroy them that destroy the earth. See, Gog and Magog, see, they a little angry. See, what they a little angry about is this. Zechariah 14:1. This is what they a little angry about. See, they a little angry. See, but they got to go meet them some graves too. See, because they thoughts from within, you know what I'm saying? It called them to be marked. See, they got to mark them. Got to mark them. Yeah, the good side of this conversation might not get hip to on tomorrow, I see right now. And then again, I could be wrong. But the reason why we're looking at the adverse side of desire, so you can reject it. See, a stupid nigga will be like, oh man, it just wants to tell people this and that. No, we want you to look at it so you can consider and reject it, because you see what the end of such stupidity is going to be. Ain't none of y'all stupid. Because stupid is to know the truth and to choose to do otherwise. I don't believe none of you stupid. Zechariah 14:1. Behold, the day of Yahuwah come, and thy spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the house rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So when he's saying, when we think about this, right, and it takes us back to when we were thinking about the pasture and how those Reubenites came through and crashed everybody to get pasture for their flocks, and how it said the Edomites or the Amalekites fled, and they tried them down. They had to murk them, because we keep them alive. They're gonna come back. They're gonna be angry because we took what they perceived was theirs. Let me do this. Yes, let me do this, because we talk about Jerusalem being ransacked. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10 real quick. Let me do this. Genesis chapter 10. And after Genesis chapter 10, Luke, my apologies, 21 and 24. Let me do this. Let's just establish this and do this. Let's just do this like this. Praise God for the word. I wasn't anticipating doing it, but Yahuwah is good and bring forth from understanding, and that's all we're here for. Because you need to understand the mystery of how things going to unfold. So, yeah. Genesis 10 and 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were the sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth are Gomer, and Magog, Madai, and Yavon, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras, which you heard about them when we read Ezekiel. And the sons of Gomer are Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah, And the sons of Javan are Elishah and Tarshish and Kittim and Dodinim. And by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in the lands, and every one after his tongue and after their families and their nations. So we have just determined that Gog and Magog are Gentiles. Why is this important? If Gog and Magog is raising themselves up, that Yahuwah is going to turn them back, and that they're trying to do something. Why are we reading about in Zechariah there was a war over Jerusalem? Why? Why is this important? Luke 21 and 24. And after that, back to Revelation chapter 11. It's only 10:09. I got time. Just try to keep my exhortation to not too long, because that's all it is in between, just a little bit of exhortation. Let me see what we got. Yeah. 21 and 24 of Luke. And that's all we're going to read is Luke 21, 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and they shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. See, now this is another parallel to what we were reading about in 1 Chronicles chapter 4, starting about verse 33. With the Reubenites possessing the land, taking it from a group of people. Jerusalem is being trodden down by the Gentiles. Gog and Magog are Gentiles. Gog and Magog are being turned back to come back and attack Jerusalem. Why is this important? Revelation 11 and 1. And it was all because of the desire of Gog and Magog. Because Gog and Magog desired Jerusalem. That's what they desired. Remember, he said, you took my land and you divided it, right? That's what he told you, right? You know, our laws say the land can never be sold. That we could never sell his land. Because it's his land, it ain't ours. And guess what these heathens been out here doing? Selling his land. Divvying it up for cash and considerations. Aid and war and weapons and things of that nature. But praise Yahuwah Elohim, his wrath will fall upon their heads swiftly, justly, and with fierce wrath and destruction, of which they have earned with every bit of their soul. Revelation 11 and 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the Malachim stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of Elohim and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the Kadesh city shall they tread under foot 42 months. Now we can begin to see what was the thoughts from within for good old Gog and Magog. See, the thoughts from within for good old Gog and Magog, which caused them to be marked, is that they wanted Jerusalem. The same way that the thoughts from within that caused those people to be marked who actually got put into those graves of lust was their belly. Which is the same thing for Gog and Magog. We just took a little bit of prophecy and things of that nature to tie it into the same point. That the things that you lusting for out of your belly will get you marked and will get you knocked off. That's the point. Let's look at the expedited version of Gog and Magog being murdered, killed, and slayed. I don't like to use the word murdered because they're not being murdered. Being exterminated for unrighteousness is truly the better terminology to use, because anybody who executes unrighteousness ought to be exterminated on sight at the time appointed by Yahuwah as he see fit, when he see fit, how he see fit. Let's go to Revelation chapter 20. 20 and 7. Because Gog and Magog down with Satan. You down with Satan? I hope not. If you around here serving your belly, you is, though. That means you an enemy of the state. See, when you serve, and again, that's where you see the difference of desire. When your God is your belly, then you're going to hate the steak because you're going to hate the sacrifice. When you delight in the sacrifice of Elohim because you have behold the strength of the sacrifice of the covenant, then your desire is the Elohim and you willingly sacrifice. You willingly do it. It's not begrudgingly. He said, serve him with a ready heart and a willing mind. Do it because that's what's in your heart to do. Do it because that's what's in your heart to do. See, a lot of people get caught up because they're doing it because that's what they feel like they should do, but that ain't what they heart. It's not. They're not doing it from their heart because that's what they want to do. So then they get linked up with people, make friends with people, and they the same way. You get with somebody, they're only doing it because they feel like that's what you want them to do. That's why I say a wise and understanding woman, she doing that because that's what's in her heart to do. Ain't more beautiful than that. That's what the book tell you. She that fear Yahuwah, she shall be praised. Don't praise no wicked woman. Not over no. That's the dumbest thing in the world. How you say you of righteousness and will praise a wicked woman when your own words say favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears Yahuwah, she shall be praised. You're supposed to heap accolade after accolade on a woman because she fear Yahuwah, not because she just pretty, not because she got a nice shape, not because you feel like you should. Cause if your old lady don't fear y'all, what you praising her for? She ain't praiseworthy. See, that'll make a lot of people upset, but that's the reality of the text, though. The book say a woman who fear Yahuwah, praise her. Give her some accolades and pat her on her back. So that conversely, if you know your wife fear Yahuwah, then you need to praise her on that and let that be known a little bit more often, a little bit more frequently. Because truly, you could be able to sit back and call yourself to be a blessed man. Nevertheless, Revelation 20:7. And when 1,000 years are expired, Hashatan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations while in the four quarters of their rats, Gog and Magog. Do you notice that even though he say he go to deceive the whole nations, it mentioned those Gentiles right there specifically? Because those Gentiles specifically want your city. Of all the cities on the earth that they wanted to conquer, Jerusalem was the one they wanted to conquer. They picked the wrong city to want to conquer. To gather them together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea, and they went up to the breadth of the rats and encompassed the camp of the Kadashim about and the beloved city, and fire came down from Elohim out of Shamahim and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone where the beast and the false prophet are, and they shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Ezekiel 39. So then we begin to see something. Now, of course, this is not what's the one for? A large grave, like what we read in Numbers. But it's graves nonetheless. You bastard! Man, get that from the nigga, man.
That nigga grab. He ain't go for nothing else. He went for straight sock.
This nigga here, man. Golly. 39:6. Appreciate it. Ezekiel 39:6. Make that 39:4, everybody. My apologies. Let's read verse 1 to confirm what we read in Genesis 10. And then, because of the word usage, we can be able to peep who is behind this said individual that we're reading, that you can see that Hashatan is that force. Therefore, thou son of man, prophecy against Gog, and say, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Chief prince or chief ruler. Hello? Hello? Very well then. Chief prince or chief ruler. You should remember that from Daniel 12 when it called Michael the Malachim the chief prince. He said, the prince that standeth for thy people. You should remember how Yahushua is described as a prince and a savior to give repentance unto Yasharal. So the force and power behind Gog, the chief prince of Tubal, as we read in Revelation 20, is the adversary. Again, that's tying us back to their God is their belly, they mind earthly things, which taking us back to Hashatan coming at Eve and causing her to look at this as a tree to make one wise and desiring the things that are of man and not the things that be of Elohim. So this is why we're looking at this to consider. What was he able to come at Gog and Magog with? Their desire from within. Their desire from within was to go against Elohim. The desire from within with Eve was to be wise. The desire from within for the people and numbers was they were thinking with their belly. And they weren't thinking about what he said in Deuteronomy chapter 8. He say, I caused you to hunger, to humble thee, so that you would know to put your trust in Elohim. Because remember, Yahushua learned obedience by the things that he suffered. See, they didn't pay attention to Deuteronomy. They weren't paying attention in the wilderness that the things what they suffered was to see if they would learn obedience. Obedience. See, everything that any of us have suffered because of disobedience was to teach you obedience. So that when you would learn obedience, that you would be able first and foremost to identify your Elohim. First and foremost. And then secondly, that you would be able to identify those who are of your Elohim. Because when you identify those who are of your Elohim, that means you can identify him. This is why he say the world know us not because it knew you not. What manner of love he bestowed upon us that we should be called the sons of Elohim. The world know us not because it know him not. That's why I be focusing on that and telling y'all that when you're dealing with natural people, can you see your God? Because you're not focusing on the person. You're focusing on the breath. The spirit that is in the person. Can you identify your God when you see him? That's all I'm really trying to teach you when it comes to that, and why I've been reiterating that over and over and over again. Can you identify Yahuwah by Hashem Yahusha when you see him? Because if you can do that, then Yah knows you are not far away from receiving his Ruach at the time that he desires to give it unto you, that you might have eternal life. But if you cannot identify him in a mortal man now, you wouldn't be able to identify him at all. Because the reason why I say that is because the Ruach of Elohim was in Yahusha and they could not identify him. They couldn't identify him. That's why I say that. That's why I promise you, if you know your Elohim, you can see your Elohim. If you don't know your Elohim, you will never, and knowing your Elohim ain't reciting back no verses or answering no questions. Verse 2, and I will turn thee back and leave but the sixth part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Yasharal. And I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and will cause thine arrows to fall out of thy right hand. Thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Yasharal, thou and all thy bands, and all the people that is with thee. And I will give thee unto the ravenous birds of every sort, and to the beasts of the field to be devoured. Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I, Yahuwah, have spoken it. For I have spoken it, my apology, saith Yahuwah. And I will send a fire on Magog and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. So will I make my Kadesh name known in the midst of my people Yasharal, and I will not let them pollute my Kadesh name anymore. And the heathen shall know that I am Yahuwah, the Kadesh one of Yasharal. Behold, it is come, and it is done, saith Yahuwah Elohim. This is the day whereof I have spoken. And they that dwell in the cities of Yasharal shall go forth, and shall set on fire, and burn the weapons, and both the shields and bucklers, and the bows, and the arrows, and the handstaves, and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years, so that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forest. Oh, actually, I take that back. Praise the Lamb. I was incorrect in that. I forgot about that. With fire, and they shall spoil those that spoil them, and rob those that rob them. And it shall come to pass in the day that I will give Gog a place there of graves in Yasharal, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea, and it shall stop the nose of the passengers, and there they shall bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Ham and Gog. Now they did, that's what I forgot. It was a name for their burial place, just like for the graves of lust. In 7 months shall the house of Yasharal be burying them, that they may cleanse the land. Yea, all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renown the day that I shall be esteemed, saith Yahuwah Elohim. And they shall sever out men of continual employment, passing through the land, to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the face of their rats, to cleanse it. And after the end of 7 months, and after the end of 7 months shall they search. And the passengers that pass through the land, when they see a man's bone, then he shall set up a sign by it till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Ham and Gog. So the same way that the thoughts from within got those people buried in Kibrothhattaavah, God gets a place in the land for all his dead bodies, and that is the valley of Ham and Gog. A place for them to be buried for the desire of their hearts, from the thoughts from within them. Let me pull the meaning of that word, the valley of Ham and Gog. But what the reason why, and I didn't want to go too long. Hold on, I got you, Shelly. Because I can definitely, and this is the multitude of Gog of what that means. The multitude of Gog is buried, and why they're buried? Because of the thoughts from within, and it caused them to be marked. And notice how he said, set a mark. You know, set a sign by it, set a little mark, set a little mark by it. Mark those who cause divisions and offenses contrary. Mark them. No different. And it was the thoughts from within them that got them cut off. So that has been established. After something like the different part of that's been established. So that means we need to check our thoughts. We need to check our desire. Because they beheld the sacrifice. You got to understand something. Revelation 1:7 say every eye shall see him, even those who pierced him. Gog and Magog seen Yahushua bust that sky open. You better know it. You better understand it and believe it. They saw it. They saw it. They saw it. They beheld the sacrifice, or the strength, or the strength of the sacrifice of the covenant. They seen it. They seen the ta'ava. They seen the desire. They saw it. Yet their desire was to overtake Jerusalem and fight against Elohim for their hatred. The same way them people were so worried. We had to kill cucumbers, leeks, and melons. He brought us out here to die. Who gonna give us flesh to eat? We hungry. We ain't got no flesh to eat. He said, don't even worry about it. I give you enough quail, nigga, come out your nose. They ain't even get a chance to eat enough for it to come out their nose, because he killed them on the spot. Then he said, bury him. Graves of lust. And if you follow after your lust and your desires, that's where you're going. And there'll be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Nevertheless, let's look at the second aspect of that word. Of Kibrothhattaavah. We have the hay. So remember, right, for the first part of the Kibroth, we understood it to be, you know, the final thoughts from within that joins you to a mark. You mark for being down with Satan, cause you to be cut off. Now we're looking at the Hattava, which has the word, the Tava in it, what we were talking about, which is the hay, the tau, the aleph, the u, and the hay yet again. So when we're looking at this hay, and for this particular word, my apologies, we look at a man with a raised arm, looking into greatness, to behold, to look, to reveal, or to breathe. So we sit back and we get to look, and we'll look at be joined together. Then we turn around and we look at the olive and we say, you know what? You join together in strength. Now you join together in strength with this ooh. And we could say you join together with a peg. Or maybe even to add. And then we look at something to reveal again. So when we turn around and we think about that, about, you know, we get to look. We get to look at a joined together mark of strength, of a hook to reveal, and we look at that. What could we think about all of that? What could we get all out of all of that? What could we understand from all of that? Let's see what we can understand from all of that. Because number one, they seen everybody in Gog and the Valley of Hamon-Gog, just like they seen everybody in these graves of lust. Isaiah 66 and 22. And after that, Revelation 14 and 7. And then after that, Isaiah the 26th chapter is where we shall go. So we can transition to the good part of desire. And that's what we'll deal with, Yahuwah willing, on the morrow. And more in a more in-depth fashion. But sometimes, we just got to sit back and consider what our desires or the thoughts that are within us can give us. That's why you got to purge yourself to make yourself a vessel meet for the master's use. And see, it's another aspect, which I'm finna get to it in a minute, that I discussed. And who knows? Yahuwah knows. Because I ain't gonna lie to you. I can talk about the word all day, every day. If you hit me up to talk to you about certain things, I gladly do so. If it gets to the point where I'm opening the word with you, it's quite frank that you might hear something that the group may not hear. That used to happen all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like all the time. There's a lot of stuff that I showed. It's still stuff I showed my people in Detroit that we still haven't went over. That I went over with them. It just never swung in that direction for us to deal with that particular matter. You know what I'm saying? And it be like that. It's not necessarily to say that something may be, or I'll put it this way, the better way to word it. It may have been something exclusively that y'all wanted that individual to catch, and that was for them to know and understand. That's how things work sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I've always let people know that opportunity is there for you. If you choose not to exercise it, that's on you. Do you know what I'm saying? That's on you. I know, like I can say in the past, I know when I was living with Nell, niggas just thought that I just taught her the word 24/7, 365 because we live together. And that was the furthest thing from the truth. Did we talk about the word a lot? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Because that's what our desire was. That was what type of time we was on. So that was quite natural. I know in the last situation I was in, niggas just assumed that that's all I talked to her about. Was that the case? No. But I hit her off quite regularly when situation called for it. If I was to be with a woman again and that's what she owned, I don't have a problem doing that. But it wouldn't be no force on, I'm finna teach you today. It's just going to be the natural course of conversation because we're going to discuss it or they're going to ask a question. And then that's what springs it. See, when you have a desire for the word and you have a desire to consume it. This man told you to open your mouth wide and he will fill it. Closed mouths don't get fed. All of us know that. Yahuwah told you himself this when he told you open your mouth wide and I'll fill it. He said, you hungry and thirsty after righteousness? Then you will be fed. So if you close your mouth, you will not get fed. Bottom line. You can take that how you will. So that means if you want to get fed, you need to open your mouth. If you don't open your mouth, your ribs going to be showing. You're going to be around here starving, hungry for no reason, because he said it's not going to be a famine for bread, but a famine for the hearing of the word of Yahuwah. When we have an opportunity to hear this man's word, we need to maximize it as much as possible. Because you never know what's going to happen in this earth when it pertaining to have physical copies of this man's word, and you're going to need to have it written on the scrolls and the tables of your heart, fleshly tables, if possible. Isaiah 66 is 1 and 2. For as the new Shamahim and the new Arats which I will make shall remain before me, saith Yahuwah, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Shabbat to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahuwah. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. So because if you transgressing against him, it's because of your thoughts that are within you. So you have to renew the ruach of your mind. You got to make your new heart. You got to make your new mind. You got to change your thoughts. I told you this before. Don't change your personality. Your personality is who you are. Your personality is what makes you unique and what makes you you. But you better change your character though. You better change your character though. Because your character is what you do. And if you want to be like Yahuwah, then you need to have Elohim character. You need to have godly character. And that comes from changing your thoughts that are from within. Delight after this man word, after the inward man. Let that be your command. Let that be what you take pleasure in. And watch how significantly your life can be changed. When you have tribulation, yes, because through much tribulation we must enter into the kingdom of Elohim. But when you have trouble, he said, I pray that you don't take them from the evil, but to take them out of the world, but to keep them from evil. But be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. That's what Mashiach said. I've overcome the world. Hallelujah for Yahushua for that. So when you turn around and you think about it and you weigh that out of your heart and you understand it and you take delight in him, then you take delight in the things that are of him, which means you take delight in those who are of him. You know, the book say for a man to be a pastor, he got to be a lover of good men. Why do you think that is? Because Yahuwah is a lover of good men. Because Yahusha is a lover of good men. So him who walks in the word is going to be a lover of good men. He's also going to be a lover of good women. And conversely, though a woman can't be no bishop, you would think that she would be a lover of good women and a lover of good men. Lover of people who do justly and righteously before Yahuwah. They take delight in them because they take delight in their Elohim, because they recognize their Elohim in the personage in this individual being manifested through the breath and the actions and the mind of which this person exhibits. See, I don't want none of us to be around here and we be one of these people who be around here who would have been like crucifying, killing. We don't want to go out like that. Not like that. That is insane. They seeing these people weeping and gnashing from teeth. Their teeth, they can see it. Matthew 13 and 30. They can see it. Dude, now, of course, I'm not going to tell you that I've been able to physically have an image of this in my brain. But that verse we just read, that's always been ill to me. Like, you're going to walk past and see people burning in the lake of fire. That is ill. All because the thoughts of that were within them. Remember now, we living with the Hatava, you know. So we sitting back looking at it, it was revealed. They knew. Look, we can even sit back and look at they were revealed the covenant of strength of the sacrifice and rejected it. And rejected it. How many people do we know been had this word revealed to them and rejected it? Maybe a lot, maybe a little. Who knows? And when I say rejected, I ain't talking about sitting down here with us. Ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how many people do you know that have had an opportunity to hear of the goodness and mercies and righteousness and gentleness and forgiveness of the living Elohim in whatever capacity that they heard it and rejected it. All because they went a-lusting. Think about that. Now what if that's us? See, you have to switch it back to them. Because it's real easy. Oh yeah, that ain't me. But what if it's us though? Have we been rejecting it? Have we been rejecting it? To go after our own idiotic love. Look here, right? You've been going after what you desire your entire life. How has that been working out for you? When you going to be ready to do something different? When you going to be ready to desire the things that Yahuwah have and to get the things that he has? When you going to learn to do that? Because what you've been wanting, that ain't been working. And you know why it ain't been working? Because Yahuwah wasn't a part of it. That's the question you ask yourself. Your way wasn't working. Your desires wasn't working. So which you gonna keep choosing them? And I said all that to say this. Isaiah chapter 26. That's called a nice segue, not the best segue. It was a halfway decent segue. It wasn't a great one. Could have been better. Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 5. And you know, that's a conversation I done had with plenty of people. That's a conversation I had with myself in May 2009. Straight up and down, like, shoot, boy. You've been doing your own thing for 28 years, boy. That junk got you in prison with 5 felonies, among other things. Shoot, let's ride with this here. Got to be better than what I've been doing. Got to be. Our desire in women ain't got us nowhere. Why don't you desire what Yahuwah want in a woman? Our desire in men ain't got us nowhere. Why don't you desire what Yahuwah got for a man for you? Our desire in friends ain't got us nowhere. How about we desire the friends that Yahuwah got for? Because according to his word, they ain't going to be friends anyway. They going to be your family. They're going to be your mother, your brother, and your sister. Why don't we desire the way of Yahuwah? Because our way ain't got us nowhere. Why don't we desire the words of Yahuwah? Because our words ain't got us nowhere. Why don't we desire the thoughts of Yahuwah? Because our thoughts ain't got us nowhere. But death. Boy, I'm trying to tell you. Let's look at the good side of desire, though. Nevertheless. For he bring down them that dwell on high. The lofty city, he lay it low. He lay it low, even to the ground. He bring it to the dust, even to the dust. The foot shall tread it down, even the foot of the poor, and the steps of the needy. The way of the just is uprightness. Thou, most upright, dost weigh the path of the just. And here we go. This is why we're here. Yea, in the way of thy judgments, O Yahuwah, have we waited for thee. The desire of our nephash is to thy name and to the remembrance of thee. With my soul have I desired thee in the night, yea, with my ruach within me will I seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in their wrath, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. Let favor be showed to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of Yahuwah. Now, really, we're focusing on verses 8 and 11. Yahuwah willing, we will revisit verses 5 through 7 on another day. But let's look at this here, right? In the Darach of thy judgments, O Yahuwah. So in the way to the highest that covers sins. Remember how we talking about in the way of thy judgments? Remember I mentioned to you that earlier? See, that's an attribute of Yahuwah. An attribute of a righteous man. A man who can who deals in judgment. Because it tells you that, you know, his law is in his heart and his judgment is on his tongue. That's what he told you in the book of Psalms. People don't like a man who is a man of judgment because people misconstrue judgment. Truth be told. They misconstrue the mishpat. They misconstrue the ability to decide and to execute judgment. they really misconstrue what that means in a lot of situations and circumstances. They misconstrue that this is the ability to discern between right and wrong. That's it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what it is. In most terms, in most simplest terms, in most ways, it's just simply the ability to determine between right and wrong, between Elohim and the adversary, pretty much, between Kadeshness and Unkadesh, between clean and unclean. That's it. Can you judge? Do you have the ability to judge? Deborah is known in this book because she had the ability to judge. And then she stood up and judged Yasharal, which means she had the ability to judge right and wrong for the people. That's why she said, I'm a mother in Yasharal. So she said, I'm a nurturer, I'm a carer, I'm a lover, and I'm a teacher of children. I teach them right from wrong because I know right from wrong. See, that's a beautiful... See, a lot of people, and sadly, it only seen with most brews, that it be the women that try to go in the text to show women, the godly women. Because I noticed that the men don't like to do it too often. But we should encourage our women to sit back and look at, you look at Abraham and Sarah. Y'all put Abraham and Sarah together because Sarah was a wise woman. Why was she a wise woman? Because her desire was to her Elohim. This is why Yahuwah told you in the book of Isaiah, you need to look to the hole from which you were digged. Rebecca was a faithful woman. She heard the promise of Yahuwah and stood steadfast to it. Rachel was a courageous woman, zealous for Elohim. Because of her jealousy for Elohim, she was willing to put herself at risk by taking her father's idols and removing them and burying them in the ground. Deborah was a just and upright woman because she could discern between right and wrong and not, in the face of opposition or fear of the people, judge justly and righteously on the behalf of Yahuwah for his people, and yet be caring and gentle and be a mother unto her people in the same breath. And when you take all of these attributes that I just mentioned, these characteristics that are so beautiful, because these characteristics are the characteristics of Yahuwah. Niggas ain't out here looking at no woman and gauging that. Does she possess these things? Because all the niggas thinking is with their little head. And that's why niggas got the problem they got now. So when we turn around and we look at it and he said, we waited for thee. So they have, because remember he said, Baruch is he that wait for thee. It's a blessed thing to wait for Yahuwah. That's why we get in a lot of trouble and a lot of things, because we don't wait for y'all. We try to push it ourselves. That's what got Saul in trouble. Because he was supposed to wait for Samuel. And he ain't sit his stupid behind down. He got up and went to do it himself, and that was strike one. Because you know you supposed to saturate. But you didn't come at the time. You should have stayed waiting, nigga. You should have stayed waiting. You wait for Yahuwah till your last breath. You wait for him. But the next thing he says is, our desire of our soul is to thy name. Of course, that is the tava. We already dealt with that. That's beholding the sacrifice of the strength of the covenant, however you want to word it. But when we get to name, that's the Shem. And we get a little shine, a little mean. And then when we dealing with a little bit of that, we get to a pair. Because with that we have two front teeth, sharp to devour, consume, destroy, press, eat, two, a pair, a cutting. And this here we looking for two. We want two and we want a pair. That's what we want right there. That's what we want for this here. We want two and a pair. And then when we look at Ma'im, we got a little water, a little blood, the question, a little chaos. We want to sit back and look at that there. We want a pair of mighty water. We just want to be joined to a pair of water, joined to his ruach. So when you behold, follow me now. When you behold the sacrifice of the strength of the covenant, it causes you, because your desire to his name. So it causes you, because you've beheld that desire, then now you're joined to a pair. Who is this pair whom you would be joined unto? John 17:20 will let us know who was this pair that you would be joined unto. See, now we're going to flip it and look at when your desire is good, what is the benefit and profit that come from that? Because we're going to have to talk about a little bit on tomorrow that when your desire, y'all willing, if your desire is to his name and the remembrance of him, because we're finna get ready to talk about remembrance. You will remember this man's word. This man said by the mouth of the prophet Jeremiah, they said, my people have forgot me days without number. Days without number. Days without number. Yeah. Some of us have forgotten him. All of us are guilty. And I'm talking about since you know the word, since you knew it. That you in situations and circumstances that you forgot him. Who knows why? But we've all done it. Nobody's exempt. And I ain't saying you did it recently or this, that, there, and the third. We're talking about during the time that you decided that you made it up in your mind that you were going to serve the living Elohim. All us done forgot it. You done forgot to pray when you should have. You forgot to do right in the instance where you knew what you should have done. You weren't diligent in your labor, so you lost track of time. Didn't realize a feast day would come. Or whatever the case may be. Everybody done it. Tattoo this man's word on your heart. You'll never forget him. How can you? Let me continue. What did I say? John 17:20. Because I'm getting ahead of myself in my mind. Because I want to spit something that we want to read off the page. So I'm getting ahead of myself in my mind. 17 and 20, everyone. Make it 21. That they all may be one, as thou, Abba, art in me, and I in thee. That they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. And the esteem which thou gave me I have given them, that they may be one even as we are one. I in them, and thou in me, that they may be perfect in one. That the world may know that thou hast sent me, and hast loved me as thou hast loved them, my apologies, as thou hast loved me. Abba, I will that they also whom thou hast given me be with me where I am. That they may behold my esteem which thou hast given me, for thou loved me from the foundation of the world. O righteous Abba, the world have not known thee, but I have known thee, that these have known that thou hast sent me. And I have declared unto them thy name. So if he declared unto him his name, he had declared to them how they could be joined to him. Yahushua came to tell you how to be joined to Elohim. Your desire had to be because you were going to behold that sacrifice to give you that strength of the covenant. Because remember, let me just read it, because again, I'm getting ahead of myself in my brain. And I have declared unto them thy name, and will declare that the love wherewith that thou hast loved me may be in them, and I in them. So if we're looking at you're beholding the strength of the covenant, the sacrifice of it. Let's read Hebrews chapter 9, about verse 20, I would say. Then we have to look at what is that strength coming from. And 1 Corinthians 15, because that was in my mind when we were reading something else, and now it just returned. So hallelujah for that. And actually, we will pick that up at about verse 15 in Hebrews chapter 9. Because we already told you, right? Blessed are those who have not seen yet believed. I ain't gonna call no names. But some people that are on the other end of this phone and may be on the other side of this video at a future time are a lot closer to receiving the Ruach HaKodesh that they could even imagine. A lot closer than they believe. A lot closer than they believe. And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death and for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, that they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament there is must also a necessity to be the death of the testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator live. This is why it's telling you when you can behold his death, you can behold the strength of said covenant. Because the strength of the covenant was made strong in his death. It was made strong in his death because he would overcome it at the last, as he told you about Gad. But that's another conversation. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 15 and 50. So you got to understand something. Your reason why I focus on that, your strength was in your immersion. Why? Because in that immersion, you made a profession that I would die to sin. So now the covenant is in effect now. And now you have the strength of Elohim because you have decided to resist the flesh and the desires of the flesh according to the word. Because why? Because you trust in Yahuwah, and trust in Yahuwah is everlasting strength. Because the joy of Yahuwah is your strength. Because you joy and you delight and you desire to keep his word, and that's where your strength emanates from. It ain't no secret sauce. It's really just that simple. We read it last week that the joy, when Yahushua was singing that hymn before he died, he was joyful. So why did we read that to understand that? It's because he trusted in Yah and he joyed in Yah. He trusted in his will. He took joy in his will. And when you trust in his will and you take joy in his will, and that is your delight and that is your desire, then you behold the strength of this covenant of sacrifice, which causes you to be joined to a pair. And therefore that is how you will overcome and endure. Because you know that Yahushua attained the victory. You know by being buried with him in immersion, you be made like to his resurrection. So therefore, that's where your strength comes from and emanates from your trust and joy in Yahuwah, because you have a desire in your heart. See, you didn't turn around to have the final thoughts from within that cause you to be marked. Remember, say final thoughts. Why is that important? I'm going to wait because I'm going to ask y'all that in person. It's important because final means end. We talked about it last week with the Athan. It's something that's perennial, ever flowing. When you're dealing with Yahuwah, there is no end. He said he's the beginning and the end. The first and the last, the Aleph and the Tah. It said with Melchizedek he had no ending and no beginning. That's why the final was important in the Kibrothhattaavah, because they were coming to an end. They were dead. Yahuwah is not the Elohim of the dead, but of the living, and the living have no end. Where was I going? 1 Corinthians 15 and 50 was where I was going. And then sometimes when I don't get to the page of where I'm heading, when I stop like that, that's why you hear me ask myself that question, because I get thrown off, because I'm clearly going 15 and 54. Clearly, hopefully I'm not developing some sort of dementia or on-site Alzheimer's. That would suck considerably. 1 Corinthians 15 and 54. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortality shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the Torah. But thanks be to Elohim, which give us the victory through our Master Yahushua HaMashiach. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of Yahuwah, for as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in Yahuwah. Now, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, small children, behold the sacrifice of the covenant of strength. Because the strength, according to Paul, the strength of sin is the law. Why is sin made strong by the law? Because the soul that sin, it shall die. But because him being made in the likeness of sinful flesh condemned flesh in the flesh, now for you have the victory. Now therefore you have strength. Because you beheld that, and your desire was to that name to be joined to Yahuwah. See, he that sanctifieth and he that sanctify all are one, for which cause he is not ashamed to call them brethren. So the question of the matter becomes, are you beholding that sacrifice of strength, of the covenant, to be joined to a pair, to be joined? Because Yahushua said, I and you, thou and me, all that good stuff in John 15, right? All that good stuff. But at the end of the day, meats for the belly, belly for the meats, y'all. And he say Elohim will destroy it and them. Taking us back. See, you didn't understand that? See, when you sit back and you look at it, again, we talk about that Wednesday. Meats for the belly, belly for the meats. He that soweth to his spirit shall reap to his spirit life everlasting. He that soweth to the flesh shall reap corruption. Where does your desire lay? Are you seeking to be joined to Elohim? Because if your desire is to his name, then you have beheld the sacrifice of his son to be joined to the Father and the Son. Back to Isaiah chapter 26. I'm finna let y'all slide in a few, man. I thank y'all for the word, man. It's the most precious thing that I've ever got in my entire life. I would say the only things, in my personal opinion, because clearly the word is always going to be first and foremost, as the number one greatest precious thing that I have ever received in my 37 years of living. And the only things for me that could come behind that is a wife, and not because of that, because she would bring forth probably the third greatest gift that a man could receive, because the book already tell you that the woman is a gift from Elohim, but that is a child. Anything outside of that, that stuff just bonuses. Any cars, money, home, status, all that other stuff that we be bandied about and worried about as people, not saying any of us individually, I'm talking about people as a whole, that stuff means absolutely nothing. Do you know what I'm talking about? It means absolutely nothing. When we talk about in the construct of this word, because when I say that, I'm speaking from the perspective of this word. This man's word say that his ruach, his word, is the greatest thing that a man can receive. Behind that man said, if a man find a wife, he find a good thing, and a prudent wife is for him. So that's a gift from Yahuwah. So that slots number 2. And then after that, because you can't get number 3 without number 2, he say, man, blessed is the man that have a quiver full of children. That's number 3. It don't get no better than that, in my opinion, according to the word of my Elohim. Period. So you have to sit back sometimes, no matter how difficult things may be. No matter how tight things may be. If you turn around and you know you got Yah, you got Yahusha, you got your God, you got your wife, you got your kid, you good. You good. You know what I'm saying? You good. You ain't got no wife, you ain't got no kids, it don't make no difference. You got Yahuwah. You good. Period. Woman ain't married, you ain't got no husband, that's cool. You ain't got no kids, that's cool. If you got kids, cool. But most importantly, you got Yahuwah though. And what else is, if you ain't had nobody else in this life, as long as you got Yahuwah, shoot, you good. Because you ain't never alone. Because you got a pair. 2 are better than 1. That's what the book say. Yahushua wasn't alone. He told you that in John chapter 5. He said, my Father's with me. He wasn't out here alone. Say, my Father with me. I ain't out here by myself. I'm joined to a pair. My desire to his name. I beheld the sacrifice from the beginning, because I was slain from the foundation of the world. I seen it. I seen it in creation. When I was told to do what I do, I seen it. When he laid the plan out to me, I seen it. And my desire was to be joined back to him. I seen it. And I remember too. Always let everything in all your perspectives in every single solitary matter in life be seen through the lens of the words of the living Elohim. He's a shield and a buckler to all those who put their trust in him. He ain't failed nobody who doesn't put their trust in him. He say, you built yourself upon that chief cornerstone. All those who believed on him will not be confounded, will never be ashamed. Don't let this world cause you to make no fool out of you, to make you believe that you're going to be ashamed and left for a fool because you serve the living Elohim. Because they say it's vain to serve the living Elohim. What profit is it? Ain't no God up there. What nigga keep thinking that then? I'm fully persuaded. Ain't nothing you can say to me, nigga. Keep your breath. You ain't got to try to show me no better way. Because guess what? Your character, meaning what you do and how you live, ain't going to show me no better way. And compared to Yahuwah, I'm good. I don't want no Allah. I don't want no Buddha. I don't want no Krishna. I don't want no Jesus Christ. I don't want none of that. And when I say Jesus Christ, I'm attaching it to Christianity. I don't want none of that. I don't want it. I don't want it. Just give me Yahuwah Ba'Shem Yahusha and I'm good. Give me a few good men, solid woman. That's all you need. That's all you need. Because Yahuwah going to take care of the rest. He going to take care of the rest. I got a mean question for y'all. I asked a couple people this question already. I'm going to see what y'all response is going to be. I ain't going to ask on the phone. I want to look you in the face when I ask you that. Let's look at the word for remembrance though. Because remember, he said, the desire of our soul is to thy name and to the remembrance of thee. Because we'll close out with remembrance. When we look at remembrance, the word is zakar. And it's the zayin, it's the kaf, and the rash. I hope y'all staying in remembrance. Everybody don't remember Yahuwah. A lot of people, they be forgetting. I hope don't none of y'all forget. He say you may forget. He said he don't never forget. See, people forget Yahuwah all the time. You know, in the book of Proverbs, the man made a statement where he said he ain't want riches lest he forget Yahuwah. See, we don't want you to around here forget Yahuwah, man. Don't forget him. Because it ain't going to be good for you. I can't seem to find the thing right there, man. So we get that zayin right. You know, you got a weapon and a plow and a cutoff and all that good old stuff right there. And you know, the harvest and your food and the dig and to be fruitful. So I think on this one here, for the direction that I'm going while I'm going is there. Yeah, we're gonna go with cutoff. And we got the kaf, which we know is the palm of the hand, and to bend and to allow, and to open and to tame, and to subdue, and to work and to be filled. So on this one here, we'll look at the cutting off of an open palm, or the work of the cutting off of the open palm of the head, because now we have the Rosh. Like I said, and it's because of the direction and the context of all the other things that we've been looking at this evening, of why I'm going in this direction. I want you to go to Isaiah 49 and 11. And also, too, and I'm letting y'all know, I'm taking this direction, because I just had a conversation with Will. I'm going to tell y'all something, right? And this is if y'all sit down to try to do this stuff, you pull out a couple words and you're doing it on your own. It is subjective, meaning that if I choose to use a particular meaning for a character, for a word that we have spelled, it's because of a particular point that I'm trying to emphasize. If you were to choose a different meaning for a character, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because we're going about it to go about, because my approach is I'm trying to emphasize a point. The point that I could be looking at and seeing may be different from the point that you are looking at and seeing. And that is okay. That's not a big deal. It's really not. You know what I'm saying? Because for the most part, it's fluid with these when this is done. Some things you're going to have to be locked in with that. But for the most part, it's fluid. Now, the direction that I'm taking this direction because Passover is coming. And this is why I'm taking the direction that I'm taking. Because Passover is coming. Isaiah 49 and 11. 49 and 14, my bad. But Zion said, Yahuwah hath forsaken me, and my master hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her suckling child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands, and thy walls are continually before me. This is why I'm choosing to the cutting off of the work of the palm of the hand of the head. You know, or the work of the head was to have the palm of his hand cut. Because he said these things right here. Zechariah 13. We just take two things out of the prophets and then slide and holler at Mashiach and the Besorah. That's what we'll do. Matter of fact, and we'll look at Songs of Solomon. It's just a refresher. This is just a refresher. And I'm probably being a little anal by pulling too many things for it, but it is what it is. 13 and 6 of the book of Zechariah, then Songs of Solomon 5. I want to say about verse 8. We at the 11 o'clock hour, so get ready to wind us on down. And once I'll say unto him, what are these wounds in thy hands? Then he shall answer, these with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. He's asking somebody, he got wounds in his hands. How you got them? Well, Isaiah said, these wounds in my hand were for me to remember Zion. I'll never forget you. I'll never forget you. Songs of Solomon 5. And of course, because we finna wind it down and we will expound on remembrance. If y'all willing a little bit more detail on tomorrow. I don't know how long bro gonna do his thing. But he gonna do his thing. He got something for you. He told me he had one thing. Who knows, y'all might change his mind by the time we wake up in the morning. Y'all willing. Whatever it is, got to be ready for it. Got to be ready for it. Now, we don't want Songs of Solomon 5 and 7. It's sad, but he don't got what we want to use. Luke 21, though. 24, my apologies. Y'all know that the book say he was wounded for our transgressions. And why is this important while we focusing on the work of the cutting of the palm of the hand of the head, or the work of the head to have this palm of his hand opened, cut? Why? Because we supposed to have something in remembrance, especially when you know the law. And when we read this right here in Luke, then I'm going to swing to the law, and then we're going to swing to Corinthians, and we're going to call it a night. Luke 24 and 36. And they thus spake, and as they thus spake, Yahushua himself stood in the midst of them and saith unto them, Shalom be unto you. But they were terrified and affrighted, and supposed they had seen a ruach. And he said unto them, Why are ye troubled, and why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself, and handle me, and see, for a ruach have not flesh and bones, as you see me have. And when he had thus spoken, he showed them his hands and his feet. He showed them the wounds that he had, that he got into the house of his friends. These wounds are for remembrance. What is he remembering, though? Why is he remembering? What is the purpose of remembering? Exodus chapter 12. (12 and 25). 12 and 24. Exodus 12 and 24. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. And it shall come to pass when you be come to the land which Yahuwah will give you, according as he hath promised, then you shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, What mean ye by this service? Then ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Yasharal in Mizraim, when he smote the Mizraim, and delivered our houses, and the people bowed the head and worshipped. This is something that they were supposed to remember, which was the sacrificing of a lamb, spreading the blood on the doorposts of your house, and the death Malachim passed over. He said, what do you mean of this service? He said, it's the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Passover. Remember, Ta'ava, the desires did it behold the sacrifice of the strength of the covenant. Behold it. See it. They beheld it. Still didn't believe it. They were supposed to keep this Passover as a remembrance, to remember. To remember. This is the purpose of your service. This is why we're doing this. We were set free. 1 Corinthians chapter 5. And 7. Hallelujah for the word, man. What would we do without it? Probably not much. 5 and 6. Your esteeming is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaven the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, as you are unleavened. For even Mashiach our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. We know for that, if we talked about it before, that sincerity is that tamaim. That's the same thing that described Jacob. A perfect, blameless, innocent man. When you remember the sacrifice of Yahushua, you remember the goodness and mercy of Yahuwah. And you know what that takes us back to? Because your desire is to his name, so you behold the sacrifice of the covenant of strength to be joined to a pair. And because you were joined to a pair, you remembered. And what did you remember? The work of the head that cut open his hand. You remember the sacrifice. And guess what? You remember it just like the law taught you to remember it. Just like Exodus taught you to remember it. Which is why we will conclude in 1 Corinthians chapter 11. And you know what that also calls you to remember? What Paul wrote in Romans chapter 6. Knowing that he died under sin once, he dieth no more. Therefore let not sin reign in your mortal body, because you would remember the sacrifice. You will remember the covenant, because you know it's a covenant by sacrifice, because the covenant is of none effect while the testator live. Ain't no strength to it. He had to die. Do you not understand there wasn't no strength to that Passover covenant till y'all killed them lambs? That covenant was of no effect till he did that. And guess what? To confirm the covenant, he had to kill the firstborn of Mishraim. Now I confirm, y'all can go. You've been set free. So now you've been set free from sin. Now you've been set free from death. And you mean to tell me you still got a desire so you end up in the graves of lust or in the valley of Ham and God? Are you serious? So you mean to tell me you've been set free and you desire a sinner for a significant other? A sinner for a friend? He said, these are the wounds I got in the house of my friend. He said, friends. Abraham was called a friend of Elohim because he believed and it was counted unto him for righteousness. So you mean to tell me you can have fellowship with a devil? Don't the book say does he have fellowship with the throne of iniquity? I think not. So what do we do? Well, I'll finish that in our conclusion. 1 Corinthians 11 and 23. For I received of the master that which I delivered unto you, that the master Yahushua, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. Take my body. Now, of course, we long on time. So when he said, take my body, remember, Numbers 11, the people were asking for flesh to eat. They were crying for meat. And guess what this man turned around and did? He said, can Elohim give you flesh to eat? He said, yeah, I give you flesh to eat. I rained it down from Shamahim. I came down from Shamahim not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And the meat the flesh that I will give is my body. So when you were breaking that bread on Passover, keep that in mind. You who are willing, we alive when that time come around. You're supposed to be remembering. And what you were supposed to be be remembering that you waited for him. Isaiah 26:8. You waited for him. You desired the way of his judgments. You waited for him. Your desire of your soul was to his name. So you beheld the covenant of sacrifice, or beheld the strength of the covenant of sacrifice, to be joined to a pair, to the remembrance of thee. So then you remembered of the work of the head when his hand was cut. Oh man. Do you not realize how that take you back to when he tell you that the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Comforter, will bear witness of him? It gonna tell you about the sacrifice that he made, and that you might live, because a covenant is of no strength as long as the testator lives. Therefore, it's a necessity that the testator die. When are you gonna allow the new covenant, the renewed covenant, the covenant of Elohim to take force in you? When are you gonna die so the covenant can be in effect? The covenant is the Ruach HaKodesh. When are you gonna die? When are you going to do the work of the head and cut open your palm so you can be joined to a pair? Because you remembered the strength of the covenant of sacrifice. When are you going to die so the covenant can be in effect? Because the covenant cannot be in effect in you until you die. When are you going to mortify your members? When are you going to put away the lying? When are you going to put away the malice, the lust, the deceit, the hypocrisy? When are you going to put it away? And when the minute that you do that, you will allow the living Elohim to dwell in you, and you in him, and you will be able to ascertain all those who are of him, and any and everything that Yahuwah has in Shamahim that is earmarked explicitly for you, he will give unto you with no hesitation, no deliberation, because it was already yours. But he cannot trust you with the true riches which are yours if you ain't been faithful in the unrighteous mammon. Yah's not going to give you what you, because I'm trying to tell you now, the book tell you this, Yah got something for everybody who desires righteousness. And it's explicitly for you. Not all that said, what God got for me is for me. Yeah, that's corny. It's true to a certain extent, contextually. It's corny to a certain extent, because it's a cliche. But in reality, it's true. Whatever gift of the Ruach Yah got, that is for you. Whatever he got that is of his righteousness, what brings esteem and honor to him, is for you. Because he said it's his good pleasure that your father give you the kingdom. He said he got the true riches to give you. It's yours. But in order for you to get it, when are you going to die that the covenant can be in effect? That though you be dead, Yahusha live in you. When is that going to happen? And when that happens, eternal life can be manifest, because your desire of your soul is to his name and the remembrance of thee. So, for all intents and purposes, because you beheld the strength of the covenant of sacrifice, you were joined to a pair to remember the work of the head who cut his hand. Because he told you. See, we get that unleavened bread and we probably just eat it. But we don't really realize that that's the breaking of his body. And that you're doing that so you can remember. So you can remember to sacrifice yourself, because that's where your desire lies, because that's where his desire lies. But hallelujah for Yahushua in the word.